Episode 91. The Power of Well Done. Introducing Grace Rutherford on the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. With me, your host, Martin Colton. Thank you for joining me, Grace.
Thank you for having me.
This is really nice to see you.
I know it's been a while. I think it was pre-COVID. I feel like we're talking pre-COVID, post-COVID times now.
We are, yeah.
So
I actually had a little look back on my memories through like my camera roll.
Yes.
To see when I last, because I used to do a little bit of work for you.
Yes.
So I was like, when was the last time I did that? And yeah, it was 2019.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Early.
Pre me having children as well.
Wow.
Because, is that right? Yeah. Because my eldest is now 4.5. So
wow.
I don't think
time just disappears so quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, when you have children, it does. It just kind of like goes into fast
a new
speed mode. And I see people, and like a lot of people who knew me more under my, like before I got married, and then pre-children, and I just feel like I'm not a completely different person, but so much has changed in such a short space of time that it is really strange when I see people, because I feel like it does feel like I didn't see you that long ago, but actually really it's
a lot happens to you in that time when you have children, doesn't it?
Yes.
You get married. But before we start, there's a little tradition.
I have seen.
Yes.
Okay,
great. I don't want to miss it. So do you know what to do after 3? We just give a clap. 1, 2, 3. And that's the official.
I wasn't on point there.
Yeah, I felt that was pretty good. We can do it again.
I'm
1, 2, 3.
That's better.
There we go.
Nicer.
Yeah, that was nice and in sync there. And that is the official start of the podcast, the clap. So
thank you. I'm honoured.
But we can carry on with the conversation now. I'm just aware that some people are like, we missed the clap, Martin.
Is it like your jingle?
It is kind of like the jingle, but it's like I know that you said to me you've listened to a couple of these.
Yes, a lot of these. Yeah,
of these.
I love it. It's great.
Wow, I really appreciate that, and I think we should start this conversation with a little thank you from me to you.
No.
That was really sweet to get that message the other week. You sent me a little thank you, a little not thank you, a little well done out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think sometimes you just, when you see people are doing something and it's going well, I think sometimes you just assume that person's been told, oh, well, you're doing great. And I just sometimes think, you know, if I'm sitting here, you know, and spending my own time of an evening, which is now very precious time on my own, because I don't get very much on my own time. But if I'm sitting down and choosing to listen to that, then that says a lot about how good it is. And I just thought, do you know what, I'm just going to send you a message. And I just thought, I just think I'll send you a message, and you can either go, oh, that's great, and leave it, or it will give you that little boost I think you probably just needed.
Yeah, and I did particularly need it, and what's strange, I did need it that day. That day, nice. I think when you have been working hard at this since August, September, working hard but also having fun. Yeah. And it's been like a great journey, and it's been I'm just so happy I've discovered this. Yeah. And these are wonderful little moments to have between two people. Yeah. Like you can't, like, it's precious time. Yeah. That I'm getting to have with people. Yeah. And so I'm really enjoying it. But then there was a little moment of like, some of the social media stuff takes a lot of work. And it's quite draining, and you can put stuff out on social media and it just disappears into the, you can spend a whole day on a social media post and it disappears, and you're like, oh, like, am I doing the right thing? Yeah. And I had that little moment of imposter syndrome all in one day. Am I doing the right thing? Do I actually know what I'm doing? All at the same moment. And then, you sent me that message, which made me go, oh. Like, it made me recheck myself.
It's reaching more people than you think. Maybe not the whole as a whole, but the odd episode, it will just, each episode will reach different people, and you'll never know, because it's all anonymous who's listening to it. So sometimes you just need a little, like, oh, I'm listening, and I've been enjoying that, and I think that just makes a huge difference, because I imagine this is massively time consuming as well, and mentally, and just preparing notes and setting it all up and all that sort of stuff. And I think a lot of it just goes unrewarded. So
it's funny though. I am getting a reward from it. Yeah. Like I say, I'm finding this very rewarding. Yeah. Getting to spend a moment with someone, a friend, someone else. Sometimes they're not friends. Some of the people I don't know. Getting to spend a moment with an individual and talk about the things that we enjoy.
Yeah.
We don't do that enough with each other, I feel.
No.
Especially as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
And like you've got kids and you were saying you don't get a moment to yourself.
No. And often the moments I get, I want to avoid a human contact because it's so overstimulating. Like, you know, firsthand, it's just very overstimulating. So sometimes just it's escapism, listening to somebody else just talk honestly to you about how what their life is looking like as a creative. It's just refreshing and nice to hear other humans, but at the same time, not, you know, a lot of mums and dads, you can't always get out and do that socializing like you used to do. No. It's quite lonely parenting, even if you're lucky enough to be in a relationship. It's still very lonely, and I think this sort of thing, like podcasts, are really just so important to everyone, but I do think they're really important to people who do have children and don't have that escapism and that time to go out socializing like you used to.
Yeah, that time to connect with other people. I enjoy listening to podcasts when I'm like at the gym as well, because the gym's a funny environment. Like there's loads of people all around you, but you're on your own.
But you don't talk to anyone. I hate if anyone tries to talk to me. I'm like, do not talk to me.
Yeah, you kind of don't. There's like you say, there's something you don't necessarily want that connection, but listening. And you just just feel like part of something.
Isn't that funny? That's exactly it. It's like I want to listen to humans, and I but at the same time, I don't have the energy to always sit down and talk
give.
And I sometimes make plans for people to come over, and then I think I don't actually know if I've got anything left to give. But and then when they come over, I'm so glad I've done it. And when they've left, I'm like, that was so important to me to have adult conversation and that. But I think sometimes it's just it's finding what you need at that time. And I think podcasts has definitely filled a big hole for me. Like just even, you know, driving to try and get a toddler asleep in the car and you're driving and. You know, I mean, now my 4.5-year-old's older, I have to be careful what I put on. Yes,
of course, because they'll pick up and they'll start to listen. But the
younger one, I mean, I can put anything on, and the kind of the talking, it's white noise, and it will send him off, and then he'll go to sleep, and I think, right, I've just got like 2 hours where I can just, and I can't leave the car because if I move him, he'll wake up. So it's like that's my me time. I'll grab a coffee from Costa or something and sit in the car and just listen, and it's like repair time, and I'm like, right, I'm an adult and I can listen to other adults, and then I go back to just the baby talk for another 3 hours. But I mean, it's just, podcasts are just brilliant.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And and that's a side of it I didn't expect to hear, actually. That's a side of when I first started doing this. I didn't expect that, you know, you hope people are going to listen in, but not necessarily for that reason. Yeah. So that means a lot to hear that.
Yeah, just you know, there's been a few little names where I'm like, more than I thought. And
we have a lot of mutual friends, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And I feel like when I see a couple of names pop up, and I think, like it's so nice to just hear what they're doing now, because you don't like tend to reach out to people who you've done things in life with, but. You know, even us two, we don't reach out to each other much. You just don't. Life's so busy that you don't get that. And you might get, I'm all right, how are you? Da, da, da. You're not going to go into this sort of conversation. So it's nice to actually just listen in and go, they're well, or they're doing this and that sort of stuff. So
or you can hear a bit of their story, maybe. Yeah. You can hear a bit of their
something
journey.
Something that you've never really known about that person before.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really nice.
Pat on the back.
So, no, thank you. Thank you. And so with you, you're a mother of 2.
I am.
And you're a business owner as well.
Yeah, my other baby.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm a dog mum as well.
And a dog mum.
I've got too many children.
You're managing all of that. So how is that day to day then, that managing of all of that?
Really tricky. It is really tricky, and often it's just that kind of, I think, I can't remember what the saying was. It's something like work. What was it? It was be a mum like you haven't got a job, basically, and then work your job like you're not a mum. Essentially, it's like that's the kind of, I feel like I'm trying to achieve and be everything I can in my business as if I haven't got 2 children to worry about. But then at the same time, I'm trying to be almost this like stay-at-home, hands-on mum that hasn't got a business to run, and it is just a constant juggling act. And I think I'm very aware that my children are only going to be this young once, and the business has kind of, I mean, I've been so lucky. It has really grown year after year. It grows. But I haven't been able to put everything that I would necessarily want to put into it because I can't. I haven't got the hours in the day. But when I sometimes have to look at how far it's come, even throughout COVID, throughout having the children, I actually think if I can do that whilst things are like this, then when I get that time back, when the children are both in full-time school and that sort of stuff, like it's like a driving force. It's like I'm just pedaling away at the moment, and then as soon as I can kind of like get going, I will, and that's kind of an exciting future.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting that you see it like that. So from an outsider, you know, you see the stuff that you do on social media.
Yeah.
You look like you're really, the business is growing and growing and growing. I've been following it for a long time because I used to do bits for you every now and then.
We miss you.
Well, I just couldn't do it anymore. I got so much from it.
Yeah.
Like before I did that, I was terrible at improvisation and was really fearful of it. And I enjoy acting, but if it came to improvising, I'd be like, no, I don't do that. But then I started doing the birthday parties with you, and you kind of showed me the way of like you have to go in that room now and be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like there is no choice.
Yeah.
You can't not be
like 4-year-olds are a really tough crowd. Like,
they are. They're the
and I have to take my hat off to you, because in all the years I've been a princess, and I don't do it anymore, but when I did it, it's nothing compared to being a superhero, because when you're a princess, all the kids want to cuddle you and sit with you and all that sort of stuff. When you're a superhero, there's like this instinct to just want to fight you, and they're just like Spider-Man, and then they just want to punch you.
I remember there was I'm not sure if you were there, but there was this one particular one where there was me as Spider-Man, there was a Wonder Woman and another prince.
Yes, I looked back at those photos the other day, because there were some really lovely photos.
That was one that I got beaten up badly. Like the kids there were just some really naughty kids there. I got stamped on my toe, kicked in my balls. Like it was a bad one.
I mean, people say to me all the time, like, not to gender stereotype, but obviously people tend to say, oh, how come you don't do boys parties, which we do, because we're a princess company. It's not just for girls. But obviously it's like that tends to be the demographic. But everyone's like, why don't you do more superhero stuff? And I'm like, do you know what we do already is stress. I worry for the safety of my performers.
Really?
Being in a room full of boys is definitely a harder gig than being in a room full of younger girls, because the girls just want to look up to the princess and twirl and do what the princess is doing. And there's just something about superhero parties that are just carnage. But you did Mad Hatter as well. Very well. That was a fun one.
That was a fun one. Yeah, that was me and you, wasn't it?
Yeah. We did it for like that celebrity lady, wasn't she?
Yes,
from,
Liz. Oh my gosh, Aerosmith's Liz.
Useless with names.
Oh, it was
you
the
were
daughter.
Star Trek, but you
I
came
was
out
a little
and you were
bit.
like,
I was like, hold on. Did you know who she? Do you know who she is? She's like the richest person in this country.
Yeah.
She's like a billionaire level, not millionaire, billionaire. Liz. Oh my God. Tyler.
Liz Tyler. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And Steve Tyler is her dad, Aerosmith frontman.
Yeah.
And so she is minted. And when I just remember like being the Mad Hatter, and I'm playing with all these kids doing all the games, and then she's standing next to me, and I'm like, what? What's happening here? And then just trying to stay in that character for the rest of the...
You can't drop the character for any reason. And that's what's quite funny, because obviously we tend to do American accents with the princesses. And so many parents, they'll take you to the side to ask about details or when they're doing the cake or whatever. And you'll carry on the accent. And so then they kind of go, oh, where are you from? And you're like, you just say like somewhere, and then they kind of like look at you like you're absolutely out of it, like you're just not. They're just kind of looking at you like, are you loopy? Because
you have to be a little bit as well.
I think I did a party with you, and you were the pirate, so you had like that kind of Irishy pirate voice, and I was American. And then as the party went on, because I'm really bad for, if someone's doing an accent, I'll start to mimic. And I started to mimic your pirate voice as like Elsa, and it went into like an Australian voice, because it was like American Irishy. And I remember someone saying like, "Oh, you're Australian," and I was so embarrassed. I was just like, "Yeah,
yes, I am." Yes.
Like I'm not gonna just pretend that I'm trying to do an American accent right now, because it's failing. But that was funny.
What I did think it was in the like I did enjoy doing it. Like I say, for me, I just started to feel too old. My knees, like being Spider-Man, you're crouching over and you're doing all the jumps, and physical. My knees were hurting, and I was just like, I think that's the one can't that, like, keep up with this.
The partying for me is just like it's if I had to go there in, you know, a t-shirt and trousers and entertain a bunch of kids, fine. I actually wouldn't mind that. But it's the tight corsets, the big underskirts, it's the high heels, it's the full face of makeup, it's the wigs. It's so like physically demanding, as well as obviously then looking after essentially
and
like
the energy that you have to give.
And then I've done it a few times. I've covered parties for people, and then I've kind of like got in my car and driven home, and then got through the door, and then there's like 2 children like, "Mummy," and I'm like, oh my god, like I remember pre-children I could come in and go, oh, what a day, like have a glass of wine and go like, who would have kids, sort of thing. And now I'm like, it's just not, I mean, I don't know how teachers do it. That's what I always think is how do you work with children all day and then come home to children. So yeah, I'm very much now like I've hung up my princess dresses from my point of view, and I'll do it as an emergency cover, but yeah, you've got to do it when you're young. I think you've got to be young, enthusiastic.
Yes, definitely. It is a young
and it pays well. That's the thing. It pays really, really well, and I think as hard as it is, for two like an hour, 2 hours work, you're getting, you kind of just go, oh, I'll get through it for the money, like it's worth it. But yeah, it
is a great gig for an actor, isn't it? Or any performer really, of whatever level. You get to do your thing, don't you? You get to perform. I mean,
vocally as well. I was singing like Let It Go 8 times a weekend for about 4 years. Vocally, that really did keep my like vocal cords and muscle. There's a muscle memory of everything was just there, and I've really noticed now if I'll go and sing that song, I'm like, whew, like I'm out of practice. Like I just haven't got that belt and that support that was just there, just trickling away every single weekend. And I think you've just got to like let go of, I think so many people kind of go to drama school, whatever, and they come out and they're like, it's below me and it's beneath me. And I've actually got one of my ex-performers. I say ex, she's always going to be a performer, but she's doing so well at the moment. And it's just been announced that she's going to be like a West End leading lady. And any given opportunity to do the party work, she will do it. And she's just like and she's quite big on TikTok now, so she'll put out TikToks and she'll say to people, you know, if you're in my line of work, find your local princess company and go and work for them, because the money for the hours you have to put in, the money is so good, and it, you know, otherwise you'll be doing shift work and you'll be working till late, and then you're getting up and you're doing your auditions and
but what is the if you think of a performer, whether you're an actor, a singer, a dancer, what is the alternative work that you could do? You work in a bar, work in a coffee shop, but with they're long hours. But you're not getting to actually do the thing that you can do. I
think if you can just have fun with it, like that's what's so enjoyable about our parties, was because you are together. I think the downside of this line of work is if you're on your own a lot, which happens. But when you've got two people, a duo, it's that's just, you know, you catch each other's eye across the room and you think, oh my god, like looking at Jeremy like, well, we're gonna get through this. And I always found our car journeys home were the best, because we'd just be like, oh my god, did you see this? And like that's just the enjoyment of that line of work. It's any sort of workplace, isn't it? It's the banter afterwards, and it's kind of like the stuff. So I think, definitely never think it's beneath you, because actually you're getting paid good money, and you're getting to do what you were trained to do or enjoy doing.
And like I say, for me, I came away with skills that I didn't have before. I came away with confidence that I didn't have before. I honestly believed as a performer I needed strict instruction. I needed to
direction.
I needed direction. I needed a script, and I needed to know exactly what I was doing. I needed months of rehearsals. And then I did the parties where I was thrown into a room and instantly had to become a character.
And you're kind of half blind as well, because you can't see through.
Because I was more often than not, I was either Spider-Man or Iron Man occasionally.
So you couldn't see.
The Scarecrow. The Scarecrow was my first one. Yeah, when I was the Scarecrow, that was a fun one. Scarecrow.
But I think as well
with Rachel.
Yeah, she's another person who's like now a fellow mum, so I kind of reach out to her quite often. Like, when are we running away? Oh, I love Rachel. But yeah, she was, you know, if you think how much, because she'd done bits for Disney parks when she was younger, and then hadn't done anything like that for years. And when I kind of approached her, she was like, I don't know. And she was brilliant. She was so good. And it all kind of flooding back sort of those years doing it at the parks and that sort of stuff. But yeah, you definitely can't go into a party with a script. And it is like, I mean, 4-year-olds will just tear you apart, and they know everything about the character you are, and
including what you might have had for breakfast. That was always a big one. It'd be like you'd turn up as Spider-Man. It was like, so Spider-Man, what did you have for breakfast today? And if you just say like Weetabix, they're like, Spider-Man don't eat Weetabix.
Yeah.
Like, they know.
You need to convince. You need to sell it to people. Oh gosh, the questions and the things kids tell you as well. It's brilliant. So just quickly as well, I used to go and do repeat customers, because often you get requested, and I'd go back.
So like for brothers and sisters, or every year.
Yeah, like often that's quite happy. It'd be like 5 years, and then they'll give you back for the younger sibling, and I'd go in, and there'd be like a huge photo up on the wall of you as Elsa or whatever, with their daughter, and I look at it and think, I actually don't even remember that, because there's so many, but it's like that is huge, and that's on their wall, and just knowing that you do create such lovely memories for people's children, and people, children still talk about those parties for years and years after. That is probably the best bit about that job, I say.
How does that feel?
It is mad. Like, it is really mad. Now I'm getting people coming back through who are, I mean, we've been open 9 years now, so we're on some of the 3rd, 4th siblings down the line, and I think I'm hoping that we're still around to do like a child of someone we did a party for. Right, so like, we were 5 when you did our party, and now I have a 5-year-old. I'm hoping I get to that.
That's the bit that
that day.
Well, I guess you're getting close to it if you're like.
Just, I mean, I think if I did say 6, 7-year-old children when I first started out, they'll be
coming.
Isn't very good, but they'll be like teens, and
they'll be like them 7, 8-year-olds in the beginning, they're going to be 17, 18 coming up to that now. So it's mad. So you might get that. That will
then I'll feel old, and then I'll have a midlife crisis, and I'll shut it all down.
Oh, midlife crisis! You haven't been there, then? Of course you haven't. Like,
I am 30 this year.
Are you? Wow.
And I am.
No, you're not. You're not there yet.
Do you know what? I'm really excited though to turn 30, because I feel like everyone always goes, You're not even 30 yet. Like, and I actually feel like, because I've been lucky and I've been able to do so much in my 20s, I don't get taken seriously the minute I tell people how old I am. Like, really? I think sometimes people go, like, what? Like, I don't know. And I just feel like I'm ready to be 30 now. I feel like I need, from what I've been able to do, I need to be in my 30s now.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think obviously like the age people are having children now tends to be in your 30s. There's not many people who really have children in your 20s anymore. And then I think the majority of people my age did go to university, so that's 3 years just chunk of their life, whereas I kind of came out straight out of college at 18 and just started working, and like, so actually I had like 3 years on all of my friends. They all finished in uni and were like, what do I do now? And I'm like, well, I've been doing this for 3 years. Like, I think that kind of fast forwarded me a little bit. So yeah, I'd probably just say that's why, really. I think
we shouldn't have to justify, should we, where we are within our lives, at what age should we?
Yeah.
Especially when we have achieved, like you've achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a lot to achieve before 30, isn't it? Setting up your own business, it's nearly 10 years in.
Yeah.
And 2 children as well. Yeah. Like that. That's quite big.
Yeah. I think I'm very happy.
And I like that as well. I like to hear that you're excited about turning 30.
I am. Like, yeah. I just think this is like my proper adult life now. I feel like your 20s, even though I've been doing adulting for a long time now, your 20s is all it kind of always said is like you're discovering and you pushing boundaries and learning what works. And I definitely feel like I know what works for me now. I know when to say yes to things. I know when to say no to things. I know my people. I know who I'm good around, who I'm not good around, who might not feel great about myself. And I definitely would say, like, my trust is getting better with people. I think throughout my 20s, I've been like, it's hard, this sort of line of work, because you do put a lot of trust in people. And I've always kept in a bit of a inner circle with this work. I don't tend to reach out to many people I don't know. It's always a friend of a friend or this person's friend, or like, it's always linked, because I think if you are recommended through someone who I trust, then you're going to be okay. I don't actually know how the link started with us.
I think we've got a lot of mutual friends. I think we've both.
We were in a show together.
We was in Jack and the Beanstalk.
You were Daisy the cow, and I was Junior Chorus. So that we were in a show together. Yeah.
So a lot and I think that's one of the beautiful things about theatre community is that there are lots of circles of friends, but we do all kind of overlap and have like links, don't we? Yeah. We have a friendship group, and it can be like really tight, but then one or two people can be on another side, and I think that comes with like all the different productions that we're involved with. Yeah, our communities and our groups expand, don't they, with each show that we do? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think my favourite thing to have come out of all of that as a child was mixing with people from different walks of lives and different ages, and I think that's probably why I felt like I was older than I was, and I think that's gone through with me, and that's probably why I've always seemed older, because I don't know, I was always around older people, and I just looked up to them, and I just thought, I want to be like you. So then suddenly, when you do see them again, and you're like, you're the age they were, you're in
similar sort of positions as well,
and
or even employing them like you did.
It is so bizarre when that happens, and sometimes I'm like, I can't message that person. I feel like they're above me, or I feel like, am I like, I don't know, they're going to be offended by me offering this work, and more often than not, like, they're so grateful for it. I found that actually I needed a Mrs. clause for an event, and so I was messaging a few people, and I was thinking, oh God, like, people are going to be like, how dare you, like, Mrs. Claus. But I mean, you can play that a lot younger and age yourself up. But I sent out loads of messages, and I was lucky to find someone quite quickly. And all the messages kind of were replying over a few days. And I was so shocked at how many people, like, I would absolutely love to have done that. Like, definitely consider me. And they're all people who stem back to the Playhouse and the South Mill. Is it with South Mill Arts now? It's called.
Yes,
what was the road?
Bishop Stortford.
It's all just like linked, and thank God for social media in that sense, because I've been able to keep in touch with so many people. Yeah, I would never have had their number and kept in touch in that way. So just being able to go like, I found them, and just reconnect with people that way. It's just amazing.
It is amazing. I think a lot of people moan about social media, but I think you've just highlighted a really good side of it, that we can keep in contact with people.
Well, I mean, if we would have done Jack and the Beanstalk when I was like 8 or 9 or something like that, we would never, if there was no social media, we would never have reconnected, because I don't live around here. Wouldn't have bumped into you. Like, it's solely down to being able to find you on social media and be like, there you are, remember you. Like, so it's kind of like, for actors, it is really important to be. It is important to be on social media and to be. It's like a little spotlight. Yeah. Because that's how I see it. If I need cover for something, I'll go on my friends and I'll just go and scroll down and then click, message. And it's like my own little agency. Yeah,
and that's very important that you highlight that as well, because what people are putting out there on social media will get viewed by a potential employee.
So that's the first thing I do when I get applications.
You see what they're like.
And the thing is, they're all young girls now, so they don't have Facebook.
No, of course, because Facebook are where the parents are.
Yeah, Facebook's where the audience is. Instagram's where the performers are, which is quite good, because there's not too much. You can't really. Instagram, I think, is easier to hide what you're posting. Facebook, you can still see profile pictures, so that's where their fatal flaw is, because I'll find them, if they do have a Facebook, they've not looked at it for a while, and it's like all these old profile pictures of them drinking, and you're like,
well, you got to give. I guess you got to have a bit of like, you got to give them a bit of leeway and say that people have got a life.
Of course,
you know, but also it's putting political things out there, or for you, for example, if someone's putting negative things out there about children, or things that wouldn't be suitable for children.
It's just about, I think, if you are doing most jobs nowadays, you've just got to be careful what you're posting publicly. It's fine to close, to post what you want, but close it off so that at the outside, people you wouldn't consider your circle of friends can't see it. And that's the thing with profile pictures. They can't be made private. They are public. So if you're choosing to have a profile picture of you with like 2 drinks in your hand and looking quite provocative, it's like, that's not a good image to put out someone who's going to entertain at a children's party.
And represent your company.
So obviously I still give people opportunities, but I just would say to people who are on any type of social media applying for this type of work or work just any sort of work where you're representing a company, you have just got to tread carefully because when you work with children, it's even more important, isn't it, to just especially if you're playing the big man, you know.
Yeah, there's that. Well, hopefully they don't know who you are if you're playing the big man.
No. He's been on here.
Yeah, he has been on here. So if you're helping him out, I know that some people help him out occasionally.
Yes.
And have to step in if he, gets busy time of year. Yeah. So that's when people fill in for him. But I want to know where this kind of all started for you, because you didn't start off when you was in the pantomime at a young age going, I'm going to run a princess party. I'm guessing you didn't.
No. And I was working for other companies, not just princess companies, but I was working for children's entertainment companies. And even when I was actively working for children's entertainment companies, it never even entered my mind that this is something I could do. It was just like, oh, this is great. I'll take this work and kind of go on my way.
So you was a performer as a child. You was like quite young when you got involved with the Playhouse, was you?
I started sort of dance, like ballet, like most little girls start with ballet. And I started that when I was about 3. Enjoyed it. But it was almost like a little bit of a Billy Elliot moment where I used to go into the ballet and then kind of sneak around the corner and watch what the acting and that sort of stuff was happening. And that was actually a separate school. But then my ballet teacher kind of said to my mum, like, I don't think she's interested in this because all she wants to do is watch the drama class. So I started going to the drama class and loved that. And it ended up kind of developing into a musical theatre class. And that's when I realised I do love dancing. It's just I don't love the discipline of just doing one particular thing.
One style,
Yeah, and I would always say, like, my thing has always just been, my enjoyment comes from being a triple threat instead of just singing, just acting, just dancing, which is hard in this industry because you do kind of have to have, like, strengths. Even if you're a triple threat, you need to be the singer.
Explain to me a little bit more about what a triple threat is.
So it's being able to do all 3 skills. It's being able to act, sing, and dance. And so obviously most musical theatre roles, you need all 3 of those.
Yes,
But for most musical theatre roles at the same time, if you're a chorus member, you don't need, your singing doesn't need to be that great because you're singing as a chorus, but you're dancing. So that's where I would struggle because my dancing was it was more my pickup. Right. So pickup's like when you go into a room, they'll show you a routine and they expect you to do that routine straight away. Gave me that routine and I would go home and practice it and come back, I would give a better performance than most people in that room. But I just couldn't. I haven't got that
you
pickup.
Couldn't do it there on the spot.
So then what would happen is I would still give it my all and perform in the audition, but it's obvious that I haven't got a clue what I'm doing with my body.
Yes,
going along with it. So that used to really frustrate me because I think like I can actually give a better performance than and they're often for jobs where you have got a rehearsal period where you have got that time to learn the material, and it's like it's just frustrating.
Yeah, it's really I found that very frustrating. I never did dance at all. I just couldn't do it. But with acting, for me, it was reading and going into auditions and being given a bit of script and being kind of expected to just do the performance there and then with the script and sight read. And I just simply couldn't do that.
It's a whole different skill.
So I was very much similar. I was always like, why can't I have this like a couple of days before to practice? And then you'd see what I'm capable of.
Yeah. And I think that is just... And I'm kind of slightly envious towards a lot of young people now who get to do videotapes and self-tapes because I think you've had the time to
you can do it, you can do 50 goes and choose your best take.
You can do as many takes as you want. Obviously, you know that a self-tape will lead to a live audition, and if you're if you've kind of made yourself look like you can do something and you can't, fair enough. But that is kind of like I used to just get so angry at that and just think I can do this. I can do this.
And did you notice that at a young age? Was you quite young?
Yeah, and I think that's why I did so well sort of with the amateur stuff was because they were able to see past that and gave me the time, the rehearsal time. And I was always just equal to very good dancers on the stage. It was never obvious that I wasn't as much of a dancer as them because I had that time to rehearse. But yeah, I used to just find the audition and then the early rehearsal days quite stressful because I just used to feel like, they just think I can't do this and I can. But I'm the same with scripts. It's kind of like that sight reading and it's just, I think this is kind of all of this stuff is why I did decide that I don't think I can do this professionally because
So you got to a point where you was amateur local community pantomime. You were leading that.
I was lucky. I was doing all my classes, and then I was doing like the panto, the summer show, sometimes even like the little like the Shakespeare-y stuff. I was a child, so it was often like the child roles.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, I was doing like 2-3 productions a year growing up. So yeah, I was 100% like, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm good at. And at school, I was okay at school. I was very good at blagging stuff, but I didn't apply myself to school. It was just like, I go to school because that's what I have to do, and then I come home, and my day starts when I come home, and I go to rehearsals and I do the shows or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I did have an agent for a little bit when I was younger, but I was always kind of like, I find with child acting is they always cast older people to play younger roles because they have more experience.
Yeah,
so I was always like that tweeny age, and then I got braces, so no one wants to cast you when you got braces. So yeah, I came close to a lot of things like in Chitty and stuff like that, like close, but I never kind of made it over the line. But that kind of never put me off. I was just like, that's fine, that's like big productions, it's fine. And then it kind of got to 16, and I was like, yep, definitely don't want to do A-levels because I'm not academic. It's like, fine. I did well. I've got 13 GCSEs all between A and C. Like, I did all right.
Yeah, that's good.
But
it's better than
like,
me.
yeah, I did all right.
Yeah.
But I was just like, it's just not what I want to do, and I didn't want to go to sixth form. So I went
like
to...
you have some people, for me, I had a point where I was like, I'm done with education.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't feel like it was working out for me or what I was about. I was like, I just want out of this system. Is that
I never fitted in anywhere at school as well. I was really unlucky that I seemed to be the year group where there was no one who did drama. Like the year above me and the year below me were really full of drama people. Mine was a very sporty year, and it was just not me. I actually took PE as an option, and through that you could do dance because they didn't offer dance as a GCSE. So I did dance, and I was the only one in that class. So my lessons consisted of filming myself do stuff I already knew. But it was just like bonkers. It was like, how am I the only one in like 120 people in my year or something ridiculous like that who wants to do dance as an option? But yeah, so school was I couldn't wait to see the back of it. So I went into college very much with the attitude of like, I don't need friends. Like, all that's caused me is like stress, and I'm just going to go through, I'm going to do my 4 days a week, wherever it was. And that was like it was a musical theatre course, but you had to pick a specialist of dance or acting. Right. So I was like, well, dance is my weaker, so I'm going to do the dance. Then actually ended up passing most of that through singing. Right. Because it was a musical theatre course. You could sing in the shows and be graded. It was, the grading system was absolutely mental. But yeah,
where did you go?
HRC in Turnford, so Hertford Regional College. And then I basically sang my way through. I basically played to my strengths, which meant I didn't gain anything from that. Right. Those 2 years didn't gain. I basically just, so then I left there and did all my drama school auditions, and I did really well. Like first year I got to like the finals for everything, didn't get in anywhere, but I was like, that's great, I got to the finals like the first year. I didn't expect to get in, like it's a tough blonde girl, like, musical theatre blonde girl, like there's hundreds and thousands of people who want to do it like you. It was just like fine. So then that's when I was working for other companies doing character work, party work, and then the following year auditioned again. I got right to the end, and a big turning point was, I remember it was a Mountfield audition, and it was like I'd got through to the final bit, and then they were just interviewing you and just sitting down with people, and they said to me like, how are you looking to fund this? And I was like, like I can't afford to go here, but I just thought by some miracle I would just get like a scholarship or something. I just thought, I'll get in, and then you can figure the rest of it out later. And they kind of just looked at me like, really just like, what's the point in offering you this place? Because you actually won't be able to take it. Right. And I remember coming away from that.
That's a shame that they left you with that, isn't it?
I just got such a kind of feel of like, you tell me how you're going to pay for this and we'll let you in, sort of thing. Yeah. I remember getting the train home from that audition. So obviously this is like the second year of auditions, and I just thought, I can't, how am I going to pay for this? And I really hoped that I would get into, is it GS, like Guildford School of Acting? Because that was under you would get university funding for that. but I'd already been told that I hadn't got into that. So yeah, I was sat on this train just thinking, like, I'm not, unless I get a scholarship, I'm not going to get a scholarship. Like, I'm good, I'm not that good. Like, they use those as kind of like bribes in a way, because it's like, if you really want someone and they're really good and they're toying between going to that school or that school, if they can offer you a scholarship, they're going to, they're not used for people who actually need them, which is another flaw in the system, but fine. But yeah, so I was on this train and I just thought, right, okay, well, at the moment I'm working for like £5 an hour or whatever it was, and yeah, I need to have like a get rich quick scheme. And that's actually where the Princess Company came from. And my husband, Duncan, who was obviously my boyfriend at the time, I kind of went home and had like the full like crying and, I don't know what to do with my life. And now I've got another gap year and I'm just going to be doing crap work until like, and he kind of was like, look, like, let's set you up something. And actually, I have to give pretty much all the credit to him, because I fell asleep, like, and you like cry so much that you're so tired. And I fell asleep and I woke up and he was like, right, this is what you're going to do. And he literally was the brain behind it and was like, you've done princess parties for other people. I'd only done it a few times because it was more like character work. And Elsa, Frozen, all that had just come out. So it was like I just started to do that. And he was like, this is what you're going to do. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I used to love designing websites. As a kid, that was something I used to love doing. Okay. I don't know why, but it was.
Well, it's quite creative, isn't it?
Thing, and I love making logos and all that. So I was like, right, okay. So yeah, I just put it out there and I offered like 4 characters that all had blonde hair. I thought, don't need to buy wigs, just do my own hair.
So what characters was you? Rapunzel?
So it was, Elsa, Rapunzel. Although actually, that was a flaw, because obviously you do need a wig for Rapunzel. But yeah, I did have
and
that.
you do need one for Elsa as well.
Elsa, yeah. I used to do my own hair, and I used to spray dry shampoo really close to my hair, and it goes white when you just do that. So I had like white, so much dry shampoo.
Tricks of the trade.
Yeah, so that, Rapunzel, Cinderella, and maybe Sleeping Beauty. And then I was just lucky, because when I started in 2015, and I think Frozen came out late 2013, I think.
And Frozen is what kind of made these princess parties take off, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Frozen, the whole Elsa thing,
And then that was what I literally remember. I was actually in IKEA, which just reminds me, because I was walking along and I remember just looking down at my phone and I had my first ever like inquiry through my website, and I was like, oh my God, like, what? Like, I only set this up literally yesterday. Yeah. And we were just clever with the name of it. Like, literally is what it says on the tin, parties with a princess. Bang.
Yeah. So someone Googles, I want a party with a princess.
So many people have said to me, like, how much do you pay to be the top of Google? I'm like, I have never had to do that. Like, I'm so lucky. So yeah, and it just went bing. And I have to say, like, I was taking jobs like all over the place, because I was just like, I'll take it.
Excited.
Yeah, I was just like, I'll drive to Kent for half an hour. Like, that's fine, because even all that journey, I was still getting paid more for half an hour than I would for a full day's work doing my other job. So yeah, and then I remember just being like, and it just took off. And then I actually looked back, because it has been our 9th year. I looked back on our tally of like how many parties we did every month of every year. And that first year was just so, I mean, the first month, though, we opened Valentine's Day, so February the 14th, and we had about 5 or 6 parties in February. Then already by March, we had like 13 parties. And then by April, it was like 20 parties. It's like, just went, it snowballed.
And so this was kind of ignited by your husband, Duncan. He lit the fuse for you, and then you drove it forward from there.
I needed someone to just give me an alternative to what, like, my mum and dad are not theatrical, not like, this is so alien to them. And then they'd done so, we hadn't come from a lot of money, and they did so much for me growing up to make sure I had these opportunities to do these classes, and they did everything for me that I think I was so scared to go down a different path. If anything, I was like overly supported, because it was like, they're so supportive and this is what they want me to do.
So I guess you didn't want to let them down.
I was like, I didn't want to go, actually I'm actually just gonna do this now.
Yeah.
But I always try and kind of like say to my mum, if you hadn't have done all of that for me as a child, there is no way I could have done what I've been able to do today. Every single thing I do in my life is because of what I did growing up and all those experiences I had. So I think it's hard actually for non-theatrical parents to also understand that there's different paths, because I think it's very much like, you train to be this is what you're going to be.
Yes, and I think that's quite dangerous as well for expectations from parents of, my parents were very supportive as well, and would support me with whatever I choose to do. So there was never any expectation there. So I'm not saying it in that way. But when you do get, I've seen parents that do expect, if their kids are going in that direction, they have to make it to the West End. Yeah. Like that's the only time that they're going to get employment and value from the stuff that's been put in before. But it's simply not true, is it?
No. It's like any line of work. You don't actually, you might train to be something incredible like a doctor, but you're not. Doesn't mean you're going to be the best doctor in that field ever. Like everyone has to have a job that just plods along. Like you can't expect. And I feel like being in the West End, they are like the biggest of the big for our line of work. Really, it's like you've really smashed it. You've done well, and you know that's.
But there's only so many. Well, there's only so many places in the West End for people. I think someone recently told me there's 100,000 young adults that come out of drama school in this country alone every year. But there's less than 100 jobs going in the West End. Then there's and the film roles that are available to them. So it's like less than 0.1% of those 100,000 kids that come out are going to get work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to say that there is only one end goal.
Yeah, because when I was auditioning for drama school, I kind of didn't get annoyed. It was like, oh, there's only 30 places in this whole drama. They're only taking 30 people. But then I get thinking about it, thinking, well, what's the point in them taking 100 people? Because that's just more competition for you. Like that, I liked that they did that. But now I look back at those drama schools and they are taking a lot of people. And you just think it's not good, because the more people these schools take, the more people you just direct competition when you're coming out. It's just drama school. I couldn't go back that for a third year. No, the audition process was. Well,
I only did brutal. 1 year of the audition process, and I found that too hard. And I think you discover within that what type of person you are as well. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to say, I don't want that kind of life. I don't want to be continuously competing.
It's the car. I would say like I'm not
competing and rejection.
I hate having to basically go, look, here I am and I'm better than these people, because that's just not a human thing to do. You don't tend to be like, I'm here for myself, I'm out for myself, and I don't care. And that fakeness as well in an audition where people are like, oh, well done. It's like you don't really want to congratulate me because I've just taken the job that you wanted. Like. And I did a lot of agency work where it's like, a couple of lines on a TV show, where and you'd walk into a room. I mean, you've definitely have been through this, where you walk into a room and you're full of a room of people that look like you because they've asked. And that is the weirdest thing. When you walk in, you're like, there are literally 15 of me, but they look exactly like me. And you sit down and you just think, this is so not good for my mental health.
No, it's weird as well. Just to see how
many people are actively doing the same, trying to get the same job I'm getting. And they all look like me. Yeah, and you've all dressed the same that day as well. It's Joey moment. Joey does it. He goes to an audition and they're all wearing the leather jacket and the white t-shirt, blue jeans. Yeah. And I've literally been in that. When you've lived that moment, it's not funny. It's funny to watch, but when
when you're in the room and you're like, oh,
there's nothing about me that any of these people can't do. Really, I think one thing I did enjoy actually was, I don't know if you've done like extra work.
Tons of extra work.
I mean, I always used to love that, because you'd do that. We'd be on set with people, and some people would have absolutely no theatrical background or
some people are doing it as a side hustle.
Yeah, they'd be like, I do this, and you're like, wow. And I used to enjoy that, because you'd have a few people who thought they were too good for it, but it was just, that was quite fun. But that was quite hard as well, because you just felt like you were sat on the bench waiting to be called. And you're like, oh, I can actually act. So do you want me? Like, oh no, okay, no, it's fine, okay. Like I was just like waiting for that to be in the right place at the right time. And I was lucky. There was a few times it was like, oh, actually, can you say this line?
Yeah, and you do get it, because you are putting yourself. You're putting yourself in a place where if you are going to get a bit of luck, you're in the right space. Yeah. And I've had it. I was an extra on something where I can't even remember what I was an extra on. But at lunchtime, I sat down on the table with the director.
Nice.
And we were just chatting away. Yeah. And he was like, I'm making my own movie at the moment. Do you fancy coming along and it's just like my own movie, an independent thing. Do you fancy coming along and being part of that? And I was like,
I'll eat your hand off.
Yes. And it was the next day as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
So it was like, I'm cancelling everything. I'm being part of this. But put myself. I was just an extra.
Yeah.
And I was in the right place to be picked out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I did quite a lot of EastEnders, and that was a bit mad because they did like to keep the same people because then it looks like you're from the street. So there was it was quite cliquey. Yeah. But I used to love that because it's just like being behind the scenes in something you watched growing up as a kid. Like it's just amazing. And I feel like because the extras are such a big part of that show, your main cast, they're really kind of great with you, and it doesn't feel like they're the actors, you're the extras. It was just like a nice, and I did that for probably about 6 months. I was just there like all the time. It was just like, we'll have you back, because the runners would just be like, just come back. Like it's easy for them just to go, yeah.
And then it for viewers, it makes you feel like, oh, it's the people that live on that street.
I looked very Essex at the time, like Essex, London. I looked like a right Londoner. It was fine, but that's another thing I would say to like people starting out is like definitely do extra work if you can. The pay takes so long to come, which is the worst bit.
Yeah, and I've had a few little bad experiences with that, with pay and things, because the industry can be quite tough,
and they take such a big percentage of stuff as well. Like
and as an extra, you're like the bottom of the priority run.
Yeah.
So you're like literally the last person to get paid or even thought about.
And like call times like 5 a.m. And the only way to get there's like a train, and you're like, well, trains don't run at 3 in the morning, so I don't actually know how you want me to get there. Or like really, really long days where you just sit. I remember I did, what was that for? It was Ant and Dec, and I think it was for like Asda or something. And Ant and Dec were like great, but it was a classic thing of like, it was it was like January, it was freezing, it was like basically snowing outside, but it was a spring commercial, so we all needed to dress like it was hot,
like in the middle of summer,
and it was just like, it was actually just like cruel. And I remember Ant and Dec had this like little cabin, and every time they said cut, they were like in their warm cabin, and I remember just being like, what is this, like literally shaking like every single, and I used to get home from filming and be like sat in a boiling hot bath and just couldn't warm up. But I do look back on those and think like, what a laugh.
Yeah, and what great experience to have had.
Yeah.
I did quite a lot of stuff on Harry Potter.
Did you?
And that was similar experience.
Amazing.
It was the Quidditch World Cup one, and we did stuff in a campsite.
Right.
They'd made this big outdoor campsite, and we were outside, and again in the middle of winter, and my hands and toes were dropping off because they were so cold. But I look back on that and I'm like, I got to be part of Harry Potter. Yeah. Like, how many people would kill for that experience, you know?
Just to see how it works. Something like that works.
Yeah, and people pay to go to the studio, don't they? They pay to go around the studio tour, and I'm like, I was there when it was the thing. And
like costume. I love doing stuff like David stuff where you get to wear, like, they do all your hair, and it's just, it's so lovely, and I would love to do it again, but it is very tricky as if you've got kids and other
trying
jobs,
to fit it
because the
in.
Hours are mental. Like you just don't really know when you're going to finish.
Well, I stay on the books of all the extras agencies, and I just find it quite interesting sometimes to see what comes up.
Yeah,
and
it's always like, don't tell us what it is. Like, you're like, I can tell that's Fast and Furious or whatever. Like, they just.
But every now and then a good little job comes up, and it comes up out of nowhere. I got on the new Deadpool movie last year.
Wicked. Loved it.
But it all got cancelled because of the writer's strike.
Oh no.
So I lost it. But for 2 minutes I was like for 2 minutes I was like, I'm on the Deadpool movie. Yeah. But that was through the extras agencies. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. And then when they like book you for a week, and then they have to cancel it, and they're like, you still get paid, and you're like, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that a few times.
So it is a good little side gig.
Yeah, definitely.
So would you? So you wouldn't? That's not something you would do at the moment. That would be too tricky. No, I would add that into your.
And even it's just even when the kids are at school, because it's just like it's long days. Mm-hmm. I would definitely love to do it when my kids are like teenagers, and
all of these things are things you can come back to.
Absolutely.
They're not exclusive to a certain time in your life, to a certain age. They need extras of all ages. They need.
I can't wait to be of an age where I'm needed, because I feel like up until now there's so many active performers under 30 who look like me, who want the work, that I can't wait till I'm like 50 And actually, my kids will be pretty independent by the time I'm 50. Like, I won't
Hopefully.
need... And yeah, I hope so.
Well, you think so? I've got 2 teenagers at the moment, and they're digressing.
They sometimes can be worse. But I do feel like I'm actually holding on to that. Because, you know, a lot of people say, once you have your children, your life's over and all this. And I kind of was like, no, because I'm going to be out... I'm going to have this big kind of stretch, hopefully, with good health, that I'll have after that I'm looking forward to. Because I think when I'm 50, there won't be that many... 50-year-olds that will want that
and you're
work.
right, because I've recently sat down with an agent, and he said to me, this is the time when most men are giving up on it. They're giving up on that dream of acting, because they did it. Maybe there's some people that are starting out, but there's not many with experience unless they've actually made it at this point. Because you do want other things in life. Yeah. If you didn't have a family by my age, I'm going to be 40 this year. If you hadn't had a family, you're going to probably want one. Yeah.
Because you're similar. You had children young as well, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. So my son's 18 and my daughter's 15.
It's crazy.
So I say I'm joking that they're digressing, but they, you know, they obviously still need me. Yeah. But this evening they're both doing their own thing. Like my son's working at Wetherspoons right now, and my daughter's with her band practicing. Yeah. Like, and I know that I can just trust them out in the world.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well for your children to get to that age and realise you're a person and you have a life and you have interests. Because I feel very much like my kids just see me as I am their mum, and
and they will do for a while. Yeah.
And even tonight, like when I was leaving, I could have said to my daughter, like, "Oh, I'm going to work," which is often what I just say. I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to work," because she can't argue with that. But I was like, "Oh no, mummy's going to see friends, and I'm going to go do something for mummy." Like I just think actually she needs to know that I do have a life.
And that's important for her when they get older. Yeah. That they're like when they're in the similar situation. Yeah. That they've got kids and they're like they need to remember to have a life and to go out and experience things as well.
So I think that's what I've been craving, because like my husband does choirs, so I used to always go along. So I used to do like the Frozen stuff at the weekend, so I was singing, and then I used to do at least 1 or 2 sessions with his choirs as well. And and that's obviously gone, because that's in the evenings. He's teaching it, so I'm at home with the kids. So like it hit me the other day. I thought, I just don't sing anymore. And like actually started to worry me, because I was like, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose something that I get so much enjoyment out of.
And the longer you don't do it for, the harder it is to get back into it.
It's just a muscle, isn't it? And it's like if you don't
and the confidence side of it.
Yeah. That was always something I didn't struggle massively with my confidence, but I knew, like, when people audition for Britain's Got Talent, I was just used to go, there's absolutely no way I could stand on a stage like that in front of all those people with Simon Cowell right there. Like, which was mad, because it was what I wanted to do and I was good at what I did, but it's just not, that was not me.
And it's important for people to hear that as well. As a performer, I think we're often expected to have this level of confidence where we can all just do that. Yeah. But what does it really feel like, that confidence? What does that, as someone that's got the talent and the skills, but
I just think it must be really, really hard when, you know, people who actually battle so badly with their nerves and it holds them back completely. I luckily didn't let it completely take me over, but it definitely stopped me from maybe going down different avenues, because I thought, to audition for that, I'm going to go through all those nerves, and I kind of was just going through like people I knew what I could do, and
safety.
The safety.
You were keeping yourself in the safety zone.
Yeah, and I feel like this industry, you can't do that. You can't rely on a safety net. You do need to put yourself out there, and I just didn't. I knew I didn't have that in me. Yeah. I'm not here I am on a plate, take me or leave me sort of person. I felt like every single audition I did, a bit of my soul died. It's far too sensitive for this career.
It is hard though. Yeah. It is. We do put when we perform, we're showing a side of ourselves that is vulnerable, aren't we?
And it's that imposter syndrome thing that we go back to as well. It's like, if you don't 100% believe you can do it, then you're not going to, like, I never 100% believed I was going to be able to do something.
Do any of us though? Or do we find ways that we manage that? Do we perhaps find some people find ways to hide that? Some people find ways to get over it for a moment. Some people are definitely
better at hiding it. But I think that I just was almost like, I'm not good enough for this. I'm not going to get it. When actually I probably should have just faked it till I made it, sort of thing. And just...
Yeah. fake it till you make it can be quite dangerous, but maybe learning some tools to help you through it. Yeah. Some coping mechanisms for that anxiety and that fear.
And actually anxiety is a huge part of it that I didn't expect, because I didn't realise putting yourself in a situation of adrenaline that you shouldn't be. I do think it's mad what we do as performers, but putting yourself in a situation where you're at the levels of adrenaline like a lion is chasing after you night after night, surely isn't very good for your body.
No, and I get that even with this. Yeah. You know, like I know you very well, but I still almost feel like there's some kind of performance about, like, I'm not putting on a performance. I'm trying to be as genuine as possible and as authentic to myself, but there's still a moment of like where you might sit back and go, can I do this? What am I doing? Yeah. What am I doing? Yeah. Do I know anything? Yeah. Who am I? Yeah. Like, do you know? Yeah.
And I always think like you're probably not very good at your job if you don't have that. You know, like I would still absolutely crap my pants going into a party. That's when I know I'm still good at what I do, because I think if you walk into anything, even if you've been doing it 20 years and you're not like this sort of work and you're not worrying about it, but it definitely takes its toll. And I had a huge dip with where anxiety hit me when I went to college, and I just had a huge anxiety attack. I'd never had anything like that ever before. And I actually reached out to Jan Stacey because I know that she'd had similar
mutual friends.
Yeah, and she was incredible, absolutely incredible, and kind of helped me, gave me the tools for it, and kind of just told me like this is actually really normal. But I never quite got over that, and that was another thing that constantly was like, am I pushing myself towards another anxiety attack? And I think that was always the fear. And before I used to go into an audition, I'm like, when is it adrenaline and when is it I'm about to have an anxiety attack? 'Cause it's very similar,
very close. And also for me, I discovered that someone on the last big production that I did, I was getting very nervous. The type of play and the words in it were very complex. The language was it wasn't normal language. Yeah. It was Jez Butterworth. Yeah. I don't know if you know his style of writing. No. It's almost quite, it's modern language, but almost quite rhythmic. Yeah. Almost modern Shakespeare.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Almost. But it's very difficult to get that. You have to be word perfect on it. Yeah. You can't not be word perfect. And so my anxiety would go up every night. And someone said to me during that production, they said, just stop for a minute. That feeling you've got now, how different is that from excitement? Yeah. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah, so not looking at it negatively and actually looking at it.
Just changing the perspective, just changing it from a moment of like danger, fear, and all the things that can go wrong, or start going all the things that could go right, and how much I enjoy and love doing this, and that feeling that you get afterwards. Yeah,
that's the best feeling though.
It is, isn't it?
Afterwards.
So do you get that with the birthday parties?
Oh no.
No.
There's a sense of achievement.
No, I think sometimes you do. I've seen it.
No, there is a sense. No, I know. Yeah, tell a lie. There is a sense of achievement, and there's like a sense of like thank God that's over and I've done it. But nothing beats like live theatre. Like you're comparing it to that. You know, when you're just like that. I mean, and a live audience. That's what I crave. Definitely is like that. Is that and just performing to adults I miss as well, because obviously it's always to. But then saying that, when you're at a party, most of the adults are watching what you're doing. Yeah.
So you're getting a little bit of what helps you go forward. So do you think there's any way that, have you got any plans to come back into performing?
I haven't really thought about it, but I know that it's definitely something I will do. I definitely will, and it will probably be like amateur to start with. And then I was so lucky growing up that it was amateur, but it was always it was like semi-pro, the stuff, you know, the stuff I play is incredible stuff. To get into something like that again would just be amazing. And I would love like the kids to see me doing what I used to do, and where if that would take me down a professional capacity, maybe that would be great. And I feel like I would be in a position where I'd be doing it because I want to do the shows and I love the shows, not for the money. I think I struggled with that when I like tried to do it as a career. I thought like I'm taking this job because I need the money. I don't actually want to take this job. I don't want to go around in a van performing to school kids. It was like, it's a performance job. So I was taking it, and it's like, yeah, it quickly took away my love of the job.
It does, doesn't it?
When that happened.
And I think that's the beauty. I think the beauty of amateur dramatics, community theatre, is you can choose to do the things that you truly love and that are right for you as a performer.
Yeah.
And you can just do it for the love of it and not worry about the
really,
money side
you're
of it.
You're not getting paid for it, so no one can actually say you're not doing your job right. They can obviously direct you and say this, but I think there's that fear of when you're actually being paid to do that work, the level is just a different bar, and I don't know whether I'd be ready for that. So I feel like I would have to definitely start out like amateur, and then I'd love to get myself an agent. Like we are talking further down the line.
We're talking dreams of the future and hopes.
But I would love to almost retrain and I mean, I would love to still play like all the older, more mature roles in the West End and or tours and that sort of stuff. When there's less competition, maybe we'll see. And and TV stuff as well. I really enjoyed that. So there's definitely like a light at the end of the tunnel, I would say.
Yes.
That's coming for me. I feel like at the moment I'm just like head down, getting through motherhood and also just trying to build the business so that I can sit back and relax and know that that's just coming in, because it's very much like that anyway. It just kind of plods along and I don't have to put many hours into it really.
So with the business the way that it is, it's clearly fully established.
Yeah.
It's out there, it's got a good presence. So what is it the management of the business that you're juggling at the moment?
Yeah, it's literally taking the bookings, which can be the most annoying bit, because it can be people ringing you and wanting to tell you their life stories about every single party they've had in the past and how this is going to be the best party ever, and and you're like, oh my god. There's that part of it. There's the maintenance is probably the more time consuming, which is like wig washing, prepping, restyling, costume, and obviously costumes are hand washed, they're hand dried, they're steamed, it's all that jazz. Like that's really quite the boring work. And then it's like making sure you've got enough equipment, packing all the equipment. So most performers have kind of a setup where they have like their speaker system there, but it's just making sure they've got enough stuff, because I don't like them to have and a lot of them are, you know, young people either living at home or living in a studio flat. Like you don't want to send them with loads of stuff, so it's just like keeping them up to like with that and bringing them costumes. So I call them like costume drop off. So it's very much just seeing someone giving them some costumes. It's a little bit like a drug deal, like the amount of like dodgy places.
But with crayons.
You're like, you're like quickly swap the stuff and then drive away. Yeah. I remember I parked in like Ep91 or something once, and there was like a parking man. There was no one else in this car park. And there was a parking man there, and he was like, you know, it's £5 to park here now. And I was like, where's the machine? And he had like a machine. I was like, is this a scam? And he was like, no, literally, like I am the. And I was like, I'm just meeting someone to do a costume swap, and I thought it was such a normal thing, and he was like, a what?
And I was
now? Like, you'll see in a minute. And he literally watched as we like unloaded all these wig heads and all this stuff, and he's looking at me like, what is this? And I was like, thanks, bye. But yeah, I've like driven to some mad places to swap costumes with people. But yeah, so it's like kind of that really. And then it's being at the end of the phone on the day, making sure if performers get lost, or there was one time one of my performers' phone just sat nav would just not work, so I had to on the phone direct her it was about a 30-mile journey the entire way, and I'm like, right, turn left, right, and now you need to set, like, it was just madness. It's just bonkers stuff.
Do you ever remember, I've just had a flashback memory, do you ever remember the time that I phoned you because I'd locked myself out of my car?
Oh yeah.
I'd parked like half a mile away from the party, and I had to dress up. I wanted to I needed to arrive in character.
Yes.
I couldn't get changed there. So about half a mile away, I get out the car and I start dressing up as a pirate, Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
And I slam the car door, and the automatic locks just keys inside. No. And I'm there dressed as like Jack Sparrow out in the middle of nowhere. And I had to go down this. I didn't even have my phone, actually.
No, your phone was, because I think who you were doing a party with rang me, I think, to say what had happened, and I was like, oh my god.
And I had to walk down the road, and I saw these builders, and I was like,
policemen.
Yeah, I was like, I've locked myself out of my car. Yes, I'm dressed as a pirate. Like, let's get that out of the way. Have you got a hammer? Because I need to smash my car window. And I had to just, It broke really, really easily.
Then there was a time where you left your trainers in like a toilet somewhere, and they were like, your trainers are probably worth double the amount.
They're going all the way back to go.
There is like, I honestly think there is no eventuality I will ever like. Every single weekend something happens, and I think I haven't even thought that could be a possibility. Like that's when I just think the years of experience, like as time goes on, the more prepared I am for every type of ridiculous scenario there is. But there are just some things where you're like, how has that happened? Like, how can I not? But yeah,
I feel like you should be noting some of it down for us.
I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm going to write like almost like a Princess Diaries book. Yes. And it's going to be like diaries of, because I've got some absolute stories. And then the performers are just desperate to like, I mean, voice notes are brilliant now, aren't they? So they'll come out of a party and always say like, send me a voice note. Because it's like my therapy. Like I listen to the party and I'm just like howling away. And I want to kind of do like a Princess Diaries book.
That sounds like such a good idea.
I think would be...
Start it. Just start make some notes. Yeah. Get all these voice notes out that they've been sending you of all the other, because all of them people that you send out there, they're all going to have stories that are worth sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. You never see it all. It's just madness.
So what does the future hold for the princess parties then? What does that look like?
So we're 9 years. So this time next year, I'm hoping to hold. Because this is the one thing I've been upset I haven't been able to do and achieve by this point, is I have never held a big event. Like, so I'd really love to do like a big Valentine's 10-year anniversary ball with as many characters as I can get in a really nice sort of wedding style venue, and just like go all out for it. Because I love like these big just events that mean children can almost have a close to Disney experience in the UK. Like that just to me is, as a child who would never really have been able to go to Disney, like I was lucky. I did go to Disney Paris with the school. It was like 2 days with the school. It's not like a real thing, but I mean, that was just like mind blowing. But to offer,
but there's a lot of children that
will never go to Disneyland. It's just the prices are ridiculous now. You're just not going to get there. So yeah, it's just really nice to be able to offer something for the community where people can go and do that sort of thing, and give the performers an opportunity to perform and be able to sing to a real crowd. And they love that when there's big events. It's like, oh, I actually get to like sing properly in front of like 400 people, like at a big festival or something. Like sometimes you don't want them to get stuck in a rut of like, I'm just performing at the parties and that's all I'm doing. It's nice to give those sort of things. So yeah, just keep expanding that. We offer entertainment for zoos, for farms and that sort of stuff, so just keep growing that, and then just survive motherhood. Oh my god, that is the hardest job ever. I've definitely like underestimated that. I was like, I love kids. This is what I do. This is my job. This is going to be so easy.
But there's just so much that you never expect can come up.
No.
So many little moments, and you can't ever. Sometimes I think you should when you're a parent, they should give you a handbook.
Yeah.
But that handbook wouldn't even begin to scratch the surface of.
I think I definitely underestimated how much you would love your children. So then that made it harder, because then I was like, oh my god, I love these things so much, but at the same time they're driving me insane.
Yes, yeah.
Like that just threw me. And fun, like when we were talking about like what your parents kind of like supporting you. I've thought a lot about, because my eldest is very into her dance and is clearly gonna go down that route.
Yes, yeah.
And me and my husband are both performers, like ex-performers, you know, that sort of thing. And we've spoken about it, and we're like, oh god, I really don't want it to go. Like, and it's so sad, because then you're like, no, she should go into it if she wants to.
Yes, yeah.
But then looking at it from parents, like as parents who've been through it. It's just even like for girls, like so much body dysmorphia, like, you know, like dancing. I remember doing ballet in like front of a mirror for like 6 hours a day in a leotard. Like it's a lot when you're a growing teenage girl. All of that sort of stuff. And I'm like, she's got to go through that, and then she'll have to go through this, and she'll have to go through this. And I know it's an ever-changing world. And
well, that's what I was going to say.
But it is just like, oh,
I was going to say that
for
you could approach it with with some of the experience that you've got and some of the wisdom that you've got. Your children aren't always going to listen to you, but with that experience and wisdom. But you can offload some of that wisdom and experience onto them.
Yeah.
You can tell them stories.
Yeah.
Of the things that you've been through.
Yeah.
And dribs and drabs, they might take some of this in and learn from it. I've questioned the same with my daughter. My son's not pursuing any kind of performing. He did it a bit when he was younger. He did like a weekend drama class thing, and he got a lot of confidence from that. He was hugely confident as a child. He can talk to anyone, and I think the reason for that is because he did an acting class.
Yeah.
Whereas with my daughter, she was born a performer and will always be a performer, and there is no stopping her.
Yeah, you can tell when they are like that.
That's like the minute she was born, she was dancing, and she just hasn't stopped dancing and singing, and that's going to be her life. And I don't want to stop that in any way, shape, or form. But maybe when she comes to the points of going to the drama school auditions, I can talk about the experiences that I had. Yeah. So maybe it's not quite as harsh on her that it was on me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just, I want her to do what makes her happy, but at the same time, you're like, all you want to do is protect them, don't you? You don't want them to go through things you've gone through.
But would you realistically change any of that? Would you lead a different life? Would you go into, say, would you have gone into banking? Do you know what I mean? Would you have gone into
no.
Do you know, like, would you have done anything different?
No,
if you could go back.
All I would have done would have lived my life in regret.
So you go back now to Grace, 8 years old.
Yeah.
What do you say to her?
I would say stop worrying about what everyone else is thinking of you and just focus on what you want to do. And I'm like that now. I worry so much about what people think about me. It's really a bad trait I have. And I also don't apply myself to things because unless I'm really good at something, I don't like to do it. And I'm seeing that in my children now. So if they can't do something the first time, they'll just go, I can't do it. And I'm like that. So I'm not a quitter, but I definitely will just only apply myself to something I'm really good at. So that's why when I found the drama and the acting, I was like, great, this is what I'm going to do. If someone kicks me a ball, I'm like, I can kick a ball well, but I will never kick it back because I'm like, no, because it's not going to be the best kick. So like, I'm not going to bother. I'm a bit like that with cooking as well. I'm all right cook.
You said at the beginning
I won't cook for people because I'm like, no, because I will only cook for someone if I know it's going to be really good food. And it's like, but just cook a meal. And I'm like, no. Like, so I just would go back and just kind of like, and also, and fix me now and just say, stop worrying about what everyone else is thinking about you and just get on with it. And I'm hoping this is what my 30s is going to bring, is just letting go of what people think of you in a room.
Why is that important?
I don't know. I don't like to feel like I'm misunderstood. I don't like people to think, oh, they think that of me and that's not true. I don't know.
It's a tough
one. I don't
one.
like that I can't control what other people think of you. And that's what I find hard about being like a boss, is because you want to like have a team of people who like want to be your friend, but also you've got to have that kind of like that that barrier, and you can't cross the line, but at the same time, like, you know, you want them all to be getting on, but then if they go and do something social, you're the boss at the end of the day, so you're not part of that. So then it's kind of just like this school playground where you're like, where do I fit in? Like, that's, and then you've got your mum friends, and I'm like, but we're only friends because we have kids. Like, I definitely think like navigating life as an adult is just as hard as when you're in the school playground, 100%. And it's harder to make friends as an adult than when you're a kid. When you're a kid, you're thrown into situations and scenarios where it's like, oh, you're going to do this club now, or you're going to do this after school, or you're going to do this. And it's like, you're constantly mixing with people and you just become friends with people. And then you kind of become an adult, and it's like, it is hard to make new friends, and most of the time you make friends through work, but then there's that work relationship, and being you're self-employed, running your own business, you haven't got that opportunity so much. And I think I worry about what they think of me, because I think, I don't want you to think I'm the boss, but then at the same time I don't. So that's why it's a struggle at the moment, is kind of just accepting that I am the boss now, because before it was me and my friends.
Yes. Now
they've all gone off and done their own thing, and I've grown up, and actually now I am looking to employ younger people, and it's like I am the boss, and that's been a bit of a a weird feeling, like, yeah, I'm the boss, and I'm a mum, and I'm a wife, and I'm all these things that actually, when did all of that happen? Like, my life just seems to like have just flown. The last 10 years has just flown before me. But then that's just being an adult, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think you'll take the skills that you've learned on this journey that you've had so far, and you'll figure out how to apply them going forward. And I think there's something also I keep coming back to recently. There's something within, like, if you're having like a struggle like this, something within like pausing for a moment and trying not to force it.
Yeah.
Don't try and force being the boss on them, or being a different way than the way that you are. Yeah. Just find some relax and pause and take a moment. Yeah. To we said about earlier about the perspective. Yeah. Try and look at it from a different perspective, maybe.
Yeah. I always think, like, if someone told me at 21 what I'd be doing now, what I've achieved, I mean, I'd be like, brilliant. Like, but sometimes when you're in the moment, all you're doing is like grafting and pushing forward and forward. You never you
don't get that moment to pause and reflect.
No, you never really do. Until things are taken away from you, you don't appreciate them. Mm-hmm. And I think I live in that kind of state of like, what's next? What am I doing next? What's next? And it's like just stopping and just pausing. And that's what I have had to kind of say to myself, like, look, the kids are going to be this young for a very short amount of time, and what you've been able to do up till now, like, I've just kind of had to slow myself down because I have just been pushing forward. Yeah. And making my life quite busy. And then now it's like gone the other way where I'm like trying to quiet things down without feeling like I'm retiring.
Yeah. No, but you can pause without stopping completely. Yeah. You can take a moment.
It's pausing, but making it look like things are still going, because you don't want people to think you are pausing.
Are you talking about like social media and the presence of the business?
And I just feel like I don't want to like...
You don't want the business to fade away because you built something up.
But at the same time, I turned down a lot of offers and I turned down a lot of work because I think that's not worth the stress. That's not worth me not sleeping on a Friday night because I know that's going to happen on the Saturday, and then me being out with the kids on the Saturday on my phone stressing. Yeah. It's not worth it for that, for the money, for that. It's just, and I'm getting really good at that now. Mm-hmm. And I speak to other party companies who are more like, you know, in their second year, third year, and they're like telling me about all these stressful things, and I'm just like, just say no. Why are you doing it? Like, or someone rings me up, do you do this character? No. Well, can you get this character? No. Like, I literally have about 80 costumes. I can't, like, you just have to learn to say no to things, and I am getting quite good at saying no.
Yeah, you're learning so many skills along the way. Mm. Is there something that you would say to someone else that was looking to start up a business?
I'd say 100% do it, because there will always... right, we've been through cost of living crisis, we've been through Brexit, we've been through COVID, we've been through like all these things. There's never been a dip. I've never had a dip. People will always spend money on their kids. Mm-hmm. Even if they shouldn't be, and it's beyond their means, people will always spend money on their kids, and there's always money to be had from this industry. And I just think if you want something that can just, you know, you're performing, you're getting paid for it, and then eventually if you can get to my position where you're able to offer work to fellow performers, which is such a nice, satisfying feeling when you can say, like, I'm helping these people continue their performing career because they're not having to take another job because they're just doing this. It's just so nice. And yeah, I definitely feel like I've hit the jackpot with this line of work, 100%. And now I've got kids, it's like I get to take them along to all these things. And I think it only gets better the older you get with this line of work, because actually now, like, you know, we are in farm parks, we're in zoos, we're in that sort of stuff, and it's like I can do a whole day out and it will cost me nothing because I work for that company. And it's just like, it's opened so many doors for me, and I've kind of done events for so many like amazing people. And yeah, I think definitely just do it. Start off like I did, 4 characters, little website. Yeah. Give yourself a sensible name. There are so many ridiculous princess party names out there. Like, like they're like 5 or 6 letters long, the title, and it's like, just say what you're doing and put that as your thing, and keep your logo really simple and keep it really clean and neat, and you don't have to have all these like stars and glitter and all this stuff. Like, just keep it simple and nice and easy to read, and then you should get bookings.
Should get some work.
Yeah, just be really reliable. In 9 years, we have cancelled one party in 9 years. And that was because someone literally had a car crash on the way to the party. They were fine, but it was like, right, we're going to, you know what I mean? There's nothing we can do here. But in 9 years, so that's like, I think we've done 5,000 and I did actually look the other day, it was like 5,300 and something parties. Wow.
That's something like to be proud of.
Yeah, it's mental. If you work out, say there's like 20 kids per party, that's like how many kids you've entertained. But yeah, if you're going to do this, you've got to get up and do what you've committed to do. And that is my biggest thing. I have literally done parties after being up all night with sickness and diarrhea.
Yeah.
I've done parties after like awful phone calls of family situations. I've done parties where I had a car crash and I ripped part of my dress and I still went and did the part. Like, you really do have to commit, because someone has told that kid that character's coming to their party. So, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it is to that little kid and that family.
Yeah.
You're never going to forget the party where the entertainer didn't show up. No one will ever forget that. Like, it's just, if you're going to do this, you've got to be reliable and you've got to not take the mick. But do it. If you're that sort of person and you can like drag yourself through a party when you feel like
there's definitely for being self-employed, there is definitely a certain type of person that you need to be. Yeah. And some of them things that you said may have been a little bit of a negative side of you, that perfectionism that you have. Yeah. Well, actually, that's like a core skill to what seems to be driving you forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I haven't ever lost that need to make sure everything is the best it can be. Like, even, you know, sometimes my husband's like, are you seriously redoing those wigs again? Like, didn't I see you do these wigs last week? And I'm like, yeah, and then they got worn and now they're fly away. It's like people are paying for a perfect princess. If I send them with a wig half done, that's not what they're paid for. And even 9 years down the line, I will sit up till ridiculous hours making these wigs perfect, because that is what I want for the children. I want the children to be like, literally mouth hit the floor, like, oh my God, look at that. Like, that's what we do. Like, that's what I'm charging people money for. So that's what I need to provide for them. This is what gets my back up when you see these companies that wear these awful, you know, Amazon 20 quid dresses. And you think, well, anyone could go and get that dress. Like, you've not put any thought into this, and you don't actually care about being authentic and making the kids believe you're real.
But that's why you get these customers one after the next after the next, because they do tell their friends. Yeah, they do tell their family. Yeah. I know that you get parties from you've got all from the same school. Yeah, don't you? Yeah, all from the same. Yeah, it's
funny actually, because I've never ever had to advertise. I've never paid to advertise. I've boosted a few posts here and there if I just think, oh, actually, I want, you know, that to look like it's a big event or whatever. Yes, yeah. But I've never had to pay to advertise. And it was interesting actually, because this December, like the December just gone, was the first ever month where I didn't advertise it, but we did actually close for bookings, because we had so many kind of Christmas events happening with the zoo and the farm and that sort of stuff, that it was just too much. All these performers were kind of here, there and everywhere. And it's a season of illness and everyone's always got colds and flus. And I just thought, I'm not gonna, what's the word I always say? Like, when you just kind of oversubscribe to everything and then you just kind of go, why the hell have I done this? So I just thought, no, I'm going to be sensible. So we should actually close the party business. And January was our quietest January we've had in quite a few years. And that I genuinely believe that is because we weren't actively out doing parties. Because 50% of it is people who've looked for you, and 50% of it is people go, oh, they're really good. Yeah. But what's their number? Oh, I've got a party like coming up in a month, because it's usually about a month, 2 months time is the notice. Yes, yeah. And they'll book it. And I honestly, because now it's right back up, like February, March, April, it's like booming again. But I thought, I think that is genuinely why. It's because we weren't out there for people to see. So it's that constant.
The momentum.
It's just the chit chat. Yeah. It's just the. Yeah. I've learned that now being like a mum at the school gates, and it's like there's so much. Oh, who did you use? Oh yeah. And like people, the one upmanship thing when they ring you and they're like, yeah, so you did like Justine's party last week, like yeah. I want that, but bigger and better, and I want this and I want that, and you're just like, yeah, all right. And it's just like it's just hilarious, but yeah, I mean, we are kind of in a Insta perfect world at the minute where everyone wants to be Insta perfect and their kids' parties need to be Insta perfect. And as much as I hate all of that, it plays to us.
You benefit
like,
from it, yeah.
They want a beautiful princess to turn up. Like, fine, I've got someone who can do that. Like,
and then at the next one, they want 2 princesses. Fine,
and then they want. I mean, some of the parties we've had that. You did that 8 character one we did.
Yes, yeah.
That was 5 years ago because the mum commented on my post and said, yeah, like they're turning 10 now, and obviously that was their 5th birthday. Yeah, I mean, that's just bonkers. 8 characters. They were twins, to be fair, but still 8 characters.
8 characters all in a room.
I mean, I've been to parties as a kid where there was less than 8 kids in the room. Like 8
I think back of parties when I was younger. That would be the amount of friends you have there.
I just never had birthday parties. I always think maybe this is why. Because I'm 4 days before Christmas, so I never had a birthday party because no one would ever have come.
Yes, yeah.
And I think my 10th birthday was like my only ever proper party, and I remember being like, oh my god, people buy me presents. Like it was like such a moment. And I was also quite a tomboy. So my mum's like, this is you like reliving an alternate life because you wanting to dress as a princess, which you wouldn't. She's like, I couldn't get a dress on you ever as a child. And also the fact I didn't have parties. It's like the 2 things I never had as a kid.
And now you're playing that as an adult.
Being a princess every weekend. Yeah. I was just, It's a lovely job to have.
Do you think that young kid would be proud of you now?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I came from one of the worst estates in the area. Like, I mean, it's awful, absolutely awful. And whenever I say to anyone in the area who knows that area, they're like, you didn't.
You came from there.
Yeah. They're just like, no. So I've come really, really far from that. Like now I'm Bedfordshire. Was Hertfordshire, now I'm Bedfordshire. But yeah, I think I'd be really proud because I don't think there was very much. Even the school I went to was quite a deprived school, and there was just a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I feel like I've learned a lot from my schooling. That sometimes I think my kids are not going to have any exposure to any of this, and that's not great. Because I was fearless. When I left school, I was fearless. There was nothing I could see kicking off somewhere that ever made me worry. I remember there was like a fight on a bus once and someone was literally getting like beaten up next to me, and I just remember just being like,
this is like Tuesday.
Yeah, it was
this
like,
is what happens.
You know, whatever.
Tuesday bus ride, fight. Like, that's how it works.
I mean, I'm probably a massive wimp now that's like in that situation now. You've taken me out of it. But yeah, I think, there's absolutely no way my younger self would have ever thought I would have made what I have of my life.
There's something in having some tough background, isn't there? Some like hard foundation to you, having experiencing some things like that and seeing some hard things that drive you forward in life to try and maybe escape that. Yeah. To give yourself a better life and to give your children a better life. Yeah.
I mean, theatre doesn't seem to, like amateur theatre, community theatre doesn't seem to have any barriers though. I just felt like, I mean, the classes cost money. I mean, luckily when I was younger, classes didn't cost that much money. But all the stuff I did with the Playhouse, it didn't cost, I had to get there, but it didn't cost me anything to be, I didn't pay to be in those shows. No. What that offered me, that took me literally off the streets because I was there. I was there in the evenings rehearsing. I was there doing the shows. Like, at the time I remember thinking like, do I really want to be doing this? All my mates are at the park drinking. Like, that's where I need to be. I'm
there's the fear of missing out.
And there were so many times where I was just like, oh, like this is really inconvenient in my teenage life. Like, because, but it really did save me because all those people now are not doing very well. Like, it was just like an escapism and a way to take me off the streets, which is where I would have just been out.
So what would you say to people that don't quite see the value in that, giving children the opportunity to become part of theatre?
It's so important.
Because there is a lot of funding being stripped away. We talk about this a lot on this podcast. There is so much funding being stripped away from the arts, particularly in smaller communities and smaller towns. but what that's done for me in my life, and it sounds like it's done for you in your life.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people that have access to them funds and they're not putting it in the direction of the arts?
I think the arts is always the first thing to go. No one ever really sees the value in it. But
until everything falls down and the communities start tearing themselves apart.
I just think there's not really many things that children can do where they can like fully escape like you can in theatre. Like, you know, running around playing football, it's great. It's health, like the health benefits, the adrenaline, all of that. Like, you still get the happy endorphins, all that sort of stuff. Great, but that works for that child. I would have literally died. I hated anything sporty. But I felt like I could have like an awful day at school and I could go to drama class, and then just learning how to become a character just solved everything. And it just took away everything that was going on outside in my real life, because I was just like committing to that character and doing that. And I just think that is, you know, there's so many children who go to therapy now and they speak to someone, and I just think like that was my therapy. And it's still great that we have all of these things, but actually just offering children more escapism and time to just not be in real life. Like, I hated real life. Like, I remember just waking up and being like, oh, I've got to be real life now for the next 6 hours. But then I get to be like,
then you can go away. Yeah, go away for an hour. Go away for 2 hours and put the rest of the world aside for a moment.
Yeah.
It does. I think it's really important to young people growing up.
Yeah, and I do just worry that, I think, you know, I'm so lucky now. I've done really well. I've got money. I can make sure my children, I pay for things they want to do. Fine. But I'll never forget where I came from, and knowing that, you know, people like who grew up in my sort of surroundings, if there was nothing there, I mean, it's quite scary to think what I would have done if I didn't have that. Like, it's just, And I didn't, like I said, a few classes had to pay for, but really the rest of it was free.
So you do want your children to get into this type of life, don't you?
I do.
You do see the value of it, don't you?
I do, yeah. I mean, my youngest as well, he's like, because my eldest, her speech was incredible from a very young age. I was like, oh my God, it's a little human. My youngest is the opposite. His speech is taking quite a while to come through. He's 18 months now, so he's still very early stages. But already I'm like, I'm gonna get you into some acting or something when you're better. Like, because it's almost like as soon as people try to talk to him, he's like, yeah. And he's already at that stage, and I'm like, that I know how to get that out of you, like to just to put you in a situation where you don't feel like it's you talking, it's the character talking. So you just get that sort of stuff. And
being around different people like you were. Yeah. The different age groups like you were.
Different age groups. Different backgrounds, different like lengths of experience. Like, I remember just working with people, and they had like such amazing professional credits, and I was just thinking like, what are they doing here? But like now I get it, because I think I can see why they've gone back to those productions, because it's like that's where they got their love and their enjoyment from. But I remember at the time just thinking like, they've been in the West End, like what are they doing back here? But
because the career path isn't a straight line with performing. It's a wibbly wobbly.
When you're growing up, you're like, oh, you get to this and then you do this, and you just keep going up the ladder, and it's like so far from that. I know people who have walked out of drama school and got their dream job straight away, and then everything has been a downward spiral since. And that's what I actually think that's a worse sort of outcome. I've seen a few people do that. They've come out and they've really hit, like, they've, you know, got the jackpot, and then it's just like everything after that is what to them probably feels like a step down. Whereas I think the natural progression is more natural to kind of, you know, go from one job and then get a little bit, you know, might get a little bit more of a speaking role or whatever, and go up and up. But it is a tough industry, because it is a little bit up and down the ladder, isn't it?
Yeah, up and down, round and round, and
you can't forget where you started, and you can't, and
then you've got to try and look at where you're going. So, final question for you, actually. So, we talked a lot about the past. So, future Grace, what would you say to future Grace? Once your children are grown up, what are you hoping future Grace is doing right now?
How old are we talking?
Let's say your kids are great, you know, late teenagers, 10 years from now, 10, 15 years time. Okay,
so I hope that future Grace still has parties with the princess, just bubbling away. Maybe Callie owns it, my eldest daughter.
You've handed it over.
Handed it over. I would really love to, so my husband really would like to produce shows. So I'd love to do that as a joint venture as well. I really want to do not so much the producing and directing side, but more just like, because I have this fascination with costumes now, and I love like finding the right costumes and wigs and dressing everything, and just being part of that. A creation of a show would actually be something I would really love to do when I'm like older, and with the producing side of it as well, when money's not so much of a worry, when you think, because at the moment it's like, I can't really just go throwing a load of money at something, like, but hopefully
these things cost money to put on, don't they?
Yeah, by that stage you kind of, the children are older, and you can be a bit more like, okay, let's do that. So I'd love to do that. And then I really just, from that, I hope that I can get myself back into the performing side of it, and just think, like, we've produced this, like, I'll be this character, or I'll do that role, or because I've heard you say on the podcast before about kind of almost giving yourself the opportunities that someone else won't give you, because it feels like you're always waiting for someone to give you the part. Well, make the part for yourself. Like that's like the dream, because if you can play a role that you wouldn't normally be cast as, or wouldn't, that, I'd love to do that.
Why do you need to wait for permission anymore?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
Go do it.
There's something nice about someone else picking you, though.
yes, no, that would be that'd be silly to say that it's not nice, and to say that we don't want it. But you could wait a lifetime if you wait for someone else to.
I just think what I've managed to build, the company I've made, was made from waiting, because I was waiting to get into drama school, when actually the whole time that was what was doing better. And what ended up being like the success was what I was like, I'll just do this whilst I'm trying to do this. And then when I realised that path I was going down was making me really unwell and wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And then I was like, I've got this really great thing going here that I've kind of put on the back burner and gone like, that's just whilst I'm trying to save money to go to drama school. Because that was the aim. It was like, save up. I'm going to save up. Sorry, we slightly digressed off that, but
okay.
That was the plan. I was like, I'm going to set up this company. Like Duncan's helped me set it up, and then I thought, I'm going to save all this money because I have my other job. I'm going to save all this money, and that's how I'm going to pay to go to drama school. So I saved loads of money, and then I went, I don't want to give this to the drama school. So
you can go down one path and realise it's not kind of like
and then
the
I thought,
direction.
but if this is all I've ever wanted, surely I would give them double this amount of money. But then money suddenly became, I realised the worth of money, and I just thought like the value of money even. I just thought like, I don't need to pay them to train me. Like if I really want to do this, I'll be able to do this. And then that was kind of where it went from there.
So how are you going to use that experience moving forward?
It made me realise you don't have to go through the stages. I think that it's like, I have to go to drama school if I want to be a performer. It's like that will definitely greatly increase your chances of getting a role, because most of the time you won't even get in the room if you've not been to drama school. Like that is true, but it's not the only way in. And I think more and more performers are going to have to learn that the hard way, because there's just not enough places for people. And even if you do get in, do you really want to be in a drama school that's got say 60, 70 other people in that year group? Because actually then you're going to come out and then
if it's not the right thing, the right thing for you. It's finding your true self and finding your direction within this. What a lovely place to wrap this up on. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This has been such therapy.
It's been therapy. I'm learning so much from you. I've taken so much from all the things that you're saying, and I do see that right now you've got 2 young children and you've got to balance that and juggle that. But I see you've got huge potential, and like you say, there is a light at the end of the tunnel for you, and I can see you're heading for that light, and just keep going. Just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, thank you. And also, I also like to add at the end, thank you if anyone's been watching or listening. We appreciate you. We appreciate you out there. And it's really nice if you hit the like and subscribe button, because then you don't miss out on future conversation. There was a word there.
You know, you're saying that, and now I'm like, have I subscribed?
Yeah, you must subscribe. Yeah, that's how these things grow. That's how more people get to see them. The more people subscribe and like.
You've done a lot of episodes in a very short amount of time. I'm very impressed.
Yes, well, I'm dedicating a lot of time to this. This is my thing. And this is what I'm doing. So, and when I decide I'm doing something, that's what I'm doing.
Ride that train.
Yeah, I'm on this train. I'm on the podcast. I'm on the podcast train. That's what this is. The podcast train. Yeah, and we'll see where it goes. Yeah. And it's opening doors, and I'm getting to meet friends that I haven't seen in a long, long time, and I'm getting to meet some new people, and it's wonderful. So. Thank you.
Well done, Martin, honestly. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That was the BTS Creative Academy podcast, Uncut. If you'd like to find out more about the BTS Creative Academy, just search BTS Creative Academy. And so that you don't miss out on any future conversations, don't forget to like and subscribe.